Hey everybody, I'm Zee Garcia, and today we're going to be cooperatively running from a volcano in Fuji. In this game, each player is going to have a character, and they are going to be rolling dice hidden behind a screen, trying to manipulate those dice in order to run towards the village and away from the erupting volcano. All the players, like I said, are working together in order to achieve that, and success and failure comes from some luck, but a lot of sort of tactics and communication between the players. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the game works together. It's kind of a tricky concept. And we'll come on back after that. I'll tell you what I think of it. To set up the game, we are going to lay out all of the cards in one of these many patterns here. So right now what you're looking at is this pattern 3 here, but you have 7 of these that give you different setup combinations. Though all the cards do go out randomly, all of them face up. You've got this board over here, which is going to track the lives of the players. You pick a difficulty card. I have 1 there, but you have up to level 4. Very challenging level. And then everybody is going to pick a player pawn here. You'll put them out here in the beginning. Everybody gets a character of that color. Alright, so let's say I'm going to be green. So that's going to be my character there. I'll have that in front of me. Everybody else has one of the other ones. You also get one of the roles in the game randomly. And so I might be the gatherer. This gives me a few pieces of information. And it tells me how many dice I'm going to have. 6, for example, in this case. Some of the characters only have 5. It tells me how much equipment I begin with, which is cards from this deck here. So I have a compass. And it tells me a special ability. It lets me know that I can re-roll when that comes up and so forth. So again, character, my role, and some special abilities. And then we are ready to begin. Alright, the objective of the game is for all of the player pawns to make it into the village, which is all of these cards, before the volcano catches up to us. If somebody goes down, we lose collectively. So, on your turn, you are going to have your dice. You're going to have a screen as well. And you're going to follow these steps behind the screen in order to take your turn. So, I'm going to go ahead and put that right there. And we're going to follow down the turn structure. The very first thing that happens is everybody rolls their dice behind their screen. So I would take my 6 here, and I would roll these behind my screen so nobody else can see them. That's my roll. As you'll see, they'll have pips and colors as well. Step 2, everybody may freely discuss this part, where we would like to travel to. You can travel up to 3 tiles away. And so, for example, I might say, you know, with my roll, everybody, I think I can get to that card there if everybody's okay with that. And you'll discuss back and forth, figure out if you think you can make it because of the way people can block you. I'll get to that in just 1 second. And so everybody's, doing this discussion at the same time. This player might go here. This player's thinking, oh, I'm just going to go there. And this player's going to go this way and go there, okay? So that's the idea. Once everybody's happy with the placement, you will then go to step 3, the re-roll, in which nobody can talk again, and you get a number of re-rolls. Depending on how far you are traveling, the number of re-rolls will adjust for that. So if I'm traveling 3 spaces, I would get no re-rolls at all. 2 or 1 space, I get 1 re-roll. If I'm not moving at all, I get to re-roll twice. So I'm looking at this. I want blue. I want 6s. That's what I need to move to that tile. They all have different combinations. Some of them will have a little line, a straight line, or a wiggly line. That means even or odd numbers. And so I might re-roll once, which is what I'm allowed, in order to change this dice combination here. And then we go to step 4, in which we can once again discuss what what's going to happen. And we can play some of these special cards here. The cards will tell you if they can be played during step 2 or during step 4 or possibly both. Once that's done, anybody who wants to trigger any powers has done so. Then we go to step 5, in which we remove the screen and we resolve the dice. And this is the trickiest part of the game, the core mechanism that I haven't really talked about yet. Here's how this works. You pick a player. Let's say it's me. And then I am going to compare my dice to my 2 neighbors. So for the sake of our example here, I'm going to just give them a random roll there. and then I'm going to cheat immediately. I'm going to do that. And then the player on my right, then let's say they rolled that. Okay? And again, I'm going to cheat. So, what I need to move is blue and sixes. All of my dice qualify for that, so I would add these up, okay? So I've got 10 there, I've got 21, 25 is my total. And then I compare what my opponents have rolled in that same category. So blues and sixes. This person rolled only 6 in total. So they're not going to affect me. I am beating them. They will not mess with my movement. This player over here rolled blues and sixes. They've got these 2. So 5 is their total. They're also not affecting me. So I can move. And so I will go ahead and do so. Then we check the next player, which is this player. And that player is purple. They were going over here. They needed purples and 4s. So these dice count for them. And I would be affecting them with all of these. That's too much. They will not beat my total. And so they will not get to move. And in fact, they are going to take some health hits down there. And I might have myself, in fact, if my total had been really close to the people I did beat, okay? So they are not going to move. They're going to stay put, and they're going to take, because of that level difficulty, 3 hits, rather. So we would take this and move them 3 spaces on the health track down there. And then we do it to the next player. Again, that player comparing it to their 2 neighboring players. Once that's all done, we go to step 6, in which the volcano will continue to erupt and spew lava everywhere. And so since it starts right here, it would just flip this one. Next turn, it keeps moving and it continues to here. Next turn, hopefully this player has moved by then, it will go there. And then after that one, it will spread to both of the neighboring cards and so forth. It will continue to do this as the game progresses, okay? So that's, in fact, I'll leave it burning like that. That's how that works. So, and then you go back to the beginning, where everybody gathers their dice, you roll, you discuss where you think you want to go, and so forth. Whenever you cross one of these tokens, or you land on it rather, you are going to get a new piece of equipment, and then you remove this token. Whenever you cross one of these volcano tokens, there will be immediately an extra eruption, and then at the end of the round, the normal eruption. So that's going to quicken the end game for all the players. You have to make sure that everyone's ready for that to happen when you, in fact, do cross or land on that spot. All right. When players continue to take hits to their life total here, as I said, if you are not moving at all, so if you did not beat people, you take 3 hits. But let's say I only beat someone, one of my 2 neighbors, I only beat them by 4. I still take 1 hit, according to that card there. So once I cross into that spot, as you'll see there's a little band-aid symbol there, I'm going to have to take one of these and block something on my roll card. My roll card is right there. I can block the first spot, which means I roll 1 fewer die. I can block the next spot, which means I can no longer use my equipment. I can block the next one after that, which means I no longer have access to my special ability. Or the last one, which means I can no longer do these rerolls here. If anything outside of that gives me rerolls, like a special card or something, I can do those. But those go away if that wound is in play. And the second way you lose the game is by having someone completely make it to the end of the board here and perish, and everyone has lost. All right. These special cards over here are going to do all sorts of different manipulations in the game, like the compass itself, for example, says that you can change any number of 6s to 1s if you choose to trigger that. You've got, let's see, a map says you can give 1 die to another player without turning that die. You can just take 1 and give it to someone else. You've got a water flask here that allows for rerolls. You've got a carabiner here, which says every player must re-roll exactly 1 die. Once all the rolling is done, since you do get to chat here before you reveal the screen, you might say, hey, listen, everybody, I think we need 1 more die rolled here. How's everybody feeling about that? I'm going to play my carabiner. And so that's sort of the things you can find here, increase your total by 3, things like that. And then the roles themselves are going to change and affect the special abilities you have. So, for example, this player here says their special power is that they can choose to remove 1 die once all the rolling is done and remove it from their total. They get it back at the beginning of the next round. This player here gets to move more spaces. They're a scout, so they can move up to 5, or up to 4 rather, spaces. This player is going to get a survivalist, gets an extra roll built in no matter what. Things of that nature. So there you go. That's the idea. You are trying to advance down the track by manipulating your total on the dice and making it to the village at the end. One final thing I want to mention here, which I'll be talking about more in depth in my overview at the end, is that when the players are discussing during these 2 phases, you cannot reference specifics. You cannot talk about how many 5s you rolled. You cannot talk about what your total is. You cannot talk about colors. You cannot talk about any of that. You can say very vague things like, I shouldn't affect you there. I might be a problem there. You should try to avoid having, a lot of whatever, right? But again, it has to be very, very nebulous is the idea. Even the rules in and of themselves are a little bit nebulous, but that's sort of the nature of that style of communication. So, having said that, let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of it. All right, so there it is. That's Fuji. Let's break this down, shall we? Overall, I have to say this is, again, with a lot of clever ideas that I'm not necessarily a big fan of. I just don't think they lend themselves, those really clever mechanisms, to a game that feels tremendously cooperative. So let me dig into that a little bit. Let's get some great things out of the way first. Aesthetics. Game looks fantastic. Wonderful illustrations. I really enjoy the ambiance, the look of everything. Extremely well put together. The replayability is pretty good. There's a lot of things they've added to the core box here in order to extend the life of the game. Lots of different layouts, different difficulty levels, lots of different equipment you can gather. It's all good except for the game is listed as 2 through 4 players. I think the 2-player game is crazy. It's not very good. There are, in fact, 2 ways to play with 2 players. There's like an easier, luckier one, and one that's more complicated, but a lot more stuff is going on. I don't really like either way to do it. This is just not a 2-player game. It's a 3 or 4-player game. And then lastly, for the good stuff here, the game length, no issues there. It feels like it runs its appropriate game length. It doesn't outstay its welcome, but it gives you enough rounds to make the experience robust, let's call it, okay? Things I did not like or I had some kind of issue with. The theme. It's a really cool concept, the idea of running together with your other, explorers from a volcano. But the mechanisms have nothing to do with that concept. They're very clever, and I really don't know what other theme they could have wrapped those core mechanisms around, but it just doesn't make any sense. For some reason, I can't clearly talk to the people that are running away from a volcano with me. I can't communicate clearly with them. I don't know. I don't get it. That doesn't help, and in fact, it kind of hurts the teachability of the game when the mechanisms and the theme have absolutely nothing to do with one another. The ease of play. The game is extremely quirky. It's hard to do well at first, especially. There's the whole nebulous speaking rules thing is. I have an issue with that. I don't like that you can, kind of like go round and round in circles, suggesting what you might have rolled, what other players might want to roll away from, and you feel frustrated by that limitation. I know it has to be there, or there is no game, but it is still frustrating. Which leads into tactics and strategy and luck. The game has luck. Of course, it's got a lot of luck, in fact, but there are tactics there and some, like I said, amazing ideas of how to deal with that. Unfortunately, a lot of those concepts and the way they're handled are going to lead to that frustration I was talking of. This is one of the more, not difficult cooperative games, but frustrating ones that I've played in a while. It's one in which you feel like your hands are tied behind your back in a very, very artificial and obvious way. It's right in your face. And I like having sort of feeling like I'm fighting with my, hands tied behind my back in a cooperative game. I think it makes for tension. It makes for, amazing turns sometimes. Things like that. Really fantastic feeling of overcoming odds. That is mostly it falls on this just sort of choking feeling, this frustration of, I just want to tell you I got 2 6s behind my screen. Don't do that thing you think you want to do. But I need to come up with a clever way to say that. And it's just draining a little bit. So overall, I think this is an extremely clever package. I think a lot of people out there who are looking for a cooperative game that does not feel like the same old, song and dance will be enamored with this one. I think the game is clever in many ways, but it is frustrating. It is devoid of any tie between theme and mechanisms, and I just found myself not really that excited to continue coming back to it. So this is somewhere in the middle for me. Again, if it looks fantastic to you, if you're looking for something really outside the box, I think you might get it here. But for me, this really isn't in my wheelhouse when it comes to the cooperative games that I really enjoy. So there you go. That is Fuji. Thanks for checking this out with me, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.